everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Sam, and today I wanted to share some of my 5-star reads with you so that you can get, I guess, a sense of the books that I like to read and maybe what I look for in a 5-star read. As I've mentioned previously, I've been a reader my entire life, and I feel like I'm pretty harsh with my rating sometimes. I find that a lot of the books that I read end up being 3-star reads, which are still a very good book. It's a pretty typical book, you enjoy it, it just doesn't, it's missing something. I really don't have that many 5-star reads. For me, I need that 5-star feeling, which is very difficult to try to explain or give a reason why you enjoyed a book so much, but just something about it just gives you that feeling that you really enjoy it and it sticks with you for months and months after. The books I'm going to share with you today have really stuck with me since I read them. So I do love reading, and I have read, like I said, my entire life, but I feel like I'm still catching up with what's popular and reading the new releases closer to when they come out. And I'm still trying to catch up with seasons that were popular even when I was in high school. So a lot of the books that I will be sharing today are not new by any means. They're not revolutionary in the sense that they haven't been talked about over and over again on Book Talk and BookTube, but they are books that I really enjoyed and I want to share with you in case you haven't read them either. For me, I like a wide range of books. Growing up, I really started with fantasy books. I have the entire Percy Jackson series, which was a big part of my childhood. When I was first getting into reading, I was reading Magic Tree House, and Hunger Games and Divergent were popular when I was still in elementary school, so sort of that dystopian fantasy world. And when I got to university is when I really got more into romance. So I'm really a fantasy girly at heart, but I also love romance and mystery thrillers. So without further rambling, let's just jump into some of my 5-star reads over the past few years, really, since I got back into reading. If you follow me on Goodreads, which I'll have linked down below, I created a shelf of all of my 5-star reads, so you can see all of these reads as well as any new 5-star reads that I read after this video, as well as a few others that I'm not going to talk about today because I honestly just don't remember what they were about or why I rated them 5 stars. I prefer going into books pretty blind. You'll also see in my descriptions in this video that I'm gonna try and keep them as short and non-descriptive as I can, because I think that books are a lot better when you go in blind and not having any expectations to what they're going to be. So to start off on my 5-star reads, I'll talk about the 2 books that I rated 5 stars but I don't actually own. So my first 5-star read is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I think I'm saying that right. If I'm looking down, I have my Goodreads pulled up on my phone so I can reference my reviews. The reason that I loved this book so much is because it was just a really unique premise. It's a love story between a girl and a ghost, which seems so bizarre when you're just talking about it, but the story is so wholesome, and the relationship between Floris and Ben is just, it gives you little butterflies because you really know that it's never going to work out because he's a ghost. This book didn't have any unnecessarily filler or plot lines. Florence is mourning the loss of a family member and sort of navigating life and being back in her hometown. So this book was just really cute. I felt all of the emotions, and overall just a really good feel-good kind of fall read. The next book that I don't own but I wanted to talk about is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. This is her memoir that talks about her experience in the TV and acting industry. It was so heartbreaking and really difficult to read, but I just wanted to root for her and give her a big hug by the end. It was really eye-opening to what actors and actresses deal with in the industry, and it was just a really good read. I think I read it in 1 or 2 sittings. Like, I couldn't put it down. It was really well written and easy to digest, even though the topics were so horrible and heartbreaking. So also definitely check the trigger warnings of any of these books. The next book is All the Lies, which is the 4th book in the Mindfuck series. This is a 5-book series of novellas, which you can find on Kindle Unlimited, and they also have a bind-up of all 5 novellas together. I rated this entire series 4 or 5 stars. This was definitely the best book in the series, in my opinion. I'm not going to talk much about, obviously, what happens in this book because it is the 4th one, but a lot does happen in this book in particular, and you learn a lot more about the characters' backgrounds and the reason that they're doing what they're doing. If you haven't heard about this series before, it's a romance between a serial killer and an FBI agent. It's just really twisted and really graphic in the serial killer aspect, so definitely be aware of that. I thought it was going to be a lot spicier than it is. There's definitely some spicy scenes, not nearly as much of a focus in the plot as I thought it was going to be. Definitely a really good, interesting read in getting the mind of a serial killer. Now on to my physical books that I have. So the first one I want to talk about is Deja Dead by Kathy Reichs. This is the book series which inspired the show Bones, which is one of my all-time favorite shows. I've watched it time and time again. I just love it so much. This series doesn't follow the same sort of plot as the show does. Dr. Brennan is a forensic anthropologist located in Quebec, working with the French. She's working in the forensic anthropology in the Quebec government bureau, something. It has been actually quite a while since I read this one, but it just felt so similar to like the first few series of Bones, and I knew that I had to separate the show from this series because although the show is based off this series, they're definitely very different. Again, a lot of Criminal Minds vibes, Bones vibes, where they're trying to solve these murder cases that with Bones. I've read a few other ones in this series, but this is definitely the best one in my opinion, and I really need to get back to this series. Next we have November 9 by Colleen Hoover. I started this on November 9. This was just such an interesting book. Like most of Colleen Hoover's books, it was very easy to read. Something about her writing just sucks you in and is so devourable, I guess is the best way to describe it. But the premise of this book is so unique because each chapter is November 9th on a different year. And it's a romance between Fallon and Ben where they just connect every November 9th. And there's definitely some emotional, traumatic plot to this book. Very twisted, like most of Colleen Hoover's books are, but overall it's a very interesting read. I would recommend it. It was just a fun time. The next book that I want to talk about is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book in the Six of Crows duology. I'm sure everybody knows about this series. And it's part of the Grisha-verse. I did read Shadow and Bone first, and really wasn't that impressed by it, but this duology was something else. Found family heist with like a large scale adventure. I was really rooting for all of these characters. There's all of twists and turns that kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time. So, big fan, and I need to continue with the Grishaverse with King of Scars, but I just haven't had a chance to pick that up yet. Okay, the next books that I want to talk about are part of a series. So this is the Wild Seasons series by Christina Lauren. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about or know about Christina Lauren's older series, but these books are so, so good. As I was reading them, they just felt like such a comfort read for me. These are the first like adult romances I got into. I rated all of these books 5 stars except for Dark Wild Night. So there's Sweet Filthy Boy, Dirty Rowdy Thing, Dark Wild Night, and Wicked Sexy Liar. These are all standalone books that follow a friend group. So I would recommend that you read them in order, but you really don't have to. The premise of these books is a group of girlfriends travel to Las Vegas to celebrate their college graduation, have like a last hurrah before they start the next chapter of their life. In Vegas, they meet a group of guys and drunkenly get married. Each book follows a different friend, like I said, and their experience with the guy that they hooked up with when they were in Vegas. Very spicy, sort of follows your typical romance plot, third act breakup, all that jazz. So if you don't love a third act breakup, I would still recommend giving these a chance because third act breakups are so aggravating, but these books are so good. Also sort of found family because the girls are all friends beforehand and the guys are also all friends beforehand, and then they kind of join together. It's just so fun. So the last 2 books that I want to talk about, I feel like should be no surprise. A Court of Thorns and Roses has such a special place in my heart. That series is like crack. I'm not gonna lie. If you know, you know. But I do want to just talk about 2 books in the series. These you really can't read out of order, but I need to talk about them because I think about this series all the time. So the first book I want to talk about is A Court of Mist and Fury. This is book 2 in the ACOTAR world. I enjoy this book a lot and rated it 5 stars because I feel like this is where the series really takes off. The first book is a lot of world setup, character setup, and kind of really just starts the plot. But this is really where it starts to get crazy. We get more characters and like the full cast is kind of introduced. The romance is great in this book and the spice is great in this book. And there's just something about Sarah J. Maas's writing that it really sticks with you. It's easy to read, though there's a lot going on and can be extremely confusing at times. It just gives you all of the motions. And again, I'm not going to talk too much about this because it is the second book in the series, and I'm sure everybody and their mother has heard about this series or read this series, but so good. Now, somewhat controversial. This is the best book in the series. A Court of Silver Flames. This is technically book 4 because there's a novella, but the 5th book in the series. This follows Nesta, which is Feyre's sister, and this is such a hard book to read. The mental health rep is so great and real, which is what makes it really difficult to read. So I recommend reading this when you're in a good mental health space because it is really hard to read. You kind of just want to take Nesta by the shoulders and shake her and be like, what are you doing? Because she's making all of these terrible decisions, but in her point of view, you can see why she's doing these things, and you feel all the feels in this book. Also, this is incredibly spicy. The spice is so good. I can't wait for the next book in the series. So those are all the books that I wanted to talk about today. I think we talked about 12 books. I love it. I love talking about books. I would love to hear some of your 5-star books down below. Maybe we can talk about books that I've also read, or I can find new books to read and hopefully find some more 5-star reads. But I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.